Welcome back to my channel. Take a spot on the rainbow anywhere you like. Have a seat, get comfortable, and we've got our resident troll. She's having a watch, over what's going on. And I decided to make this episode about the gynecologist appointments that I've had, whether it was over in America or whether it, happened to be since I arrived in England. And I was going to go over the differences and similarities, that I've experienced. Because funny enough, there have been some similarities, more than you would think. So, just pick out a spot on the rainbow somewhere. Just, sit back, make an internest, enjoy yourselves. So, basically, it starts out when you're a young lady, usually. If you're still on your parents' health insurance, you can go with that. If you're not that lucky, then you usually wait until you have your first job. And then, you'll get insurance, and then, you can go see the gynecologist for the first time. And it's not exactly the most comfortable experience because, stirrups. And I don't have to go into too much detail because I know the ladies listening to this understand exactly what I'm talking about. You really don't have to go into great detail about that. However, there's a reason I'm telling you this. So, you go in, you get to know the speculum, and you get to know the doctor, and you wonder why the doctor isn't just generally, by default, a lady, because it's just unnerving having a guy down there, for me, at least. But then again, I went through some trauma, so maybe I'm a little weird, I don't know. But it just seems to work better if it's a lady. But yeah, they'll do their thing down there. But the one thing that differentiates the gynecologist appointment here from there is one thing. Every doctor's appointment I ever had to go to, it didn't matter what it was for. You had to have a drug test. Every single time. There were no exceptions ever. So, if you had to go in for, some sort of say a spinal tap, drug test. You had to go in for an emergency experience, like something happened to you and you had to go into the A&E. Drug test. You are going to get drug tested constantly when you're living in America. It's just kind of the thing. And I was very surprised when I ran into, friends that had gone to the hospital, and I would go visit them. And the next thing I know, they're going in to see the doctor and everything. And this was at the very beginning of my time here. And I looked at them, and then I'd look at the doctor or the nurse, and I'd look back at my friend, and I'm like, I'm just waiting for them to, give them the drug test. And they didn't. And I remember looking at them sometimes, and I would actually say it. I'm like, well, are they going to give you your drug test? And then it was my time to, be chagrined, completely and utterly embarrassed. They would look at me and say, huh? What do you mean? Well, you don't get drug tested? Every time? No. And, my partner gave me the same look, of course, the same, what? What kind of barbaric place are you from? That's the usual look, the usual expression. And you know what? Considering the things that I've learned since I've been here, the things that are normal here, I understand her perspective completely. But yeah, that's the way it is. Now, say you cannot afford to see a gynecologist because you don't have health insurance. Well, free clinic, or you can go to Planned Parenthood. Now, the only reason I say Planned Parenthood hesitantly is because usually outside of Planned Parenthood are a number of rather unpleasant individuals that have a certain mindset and view of the world. They tend to focus solely on the unborn child, and once they're born, they don't tend to really glance at them twice. They don't follow through, if you don't mind me saying so. But yeah, so I went to Planned Parenthood just to get like some sort of birth control, I think it was. And I had to walk past these people. And they're thrusting these like large poster boards in my face with these images on them of just the most horrific thing you can imagine. Just, pictures of tiny body parts cut up and, blood everywhere. And it was just, accusatory. Everything was my fault because I was like this harlot to them, even though they didn't bother to find out why I was actually there. But okay. And, there's no use in yelling at them because they are clearly deaf to anything you have to say. They've already judged you and they've already like convicted you and sent you off to whatever prison in their mind, that they can stick you in. It's the worst of the worst. And it's very frustrating. So those are the two like ways you can actually be seen by a gynecologist if you have no health insurance. And there really is no good time to go to Planned Parenthood because they're always there. Those people are always there. I would suggest earplugs. Excuse me. I just had an image of little miniature dogs, little pugs, and I don't know why, but okay, moving on. Put in some earplugs and, maybe one of those hoodies with a deep hood that basically says, I'm antisocial, leave me alone. And just try to make your way to the door. Although I don't feel it's fair that somebody should have to feel so stressed out trying to get, birth control, or even if they did go there for a procedure. It's not my place to judge, I don't know them. I don't know what they're going through. But anyway, those are the ways you could get it seen without health insurance. Now, if you had health insurance, then of course, you pick out the doctor within your what would you say, like your network of doctors, and basically you just go see them and, repeat, rinse, and they will usually have a copay that you have to pay, of course, like $30 to $40 per visit. And, and you will be seen. And, the difference between them and a free clinic is, I don't know, maybe they warm the I just had the word in my, they warm the speculum for you. So it's not quite so invasive and cold. But you go there and, so at some point I had lost my employment, as I had mentioned to you prior. And because of this, of course, I lost my health insurance the same day. Well, it wasn't long after I lost my job and health insurance that I started having a problem. It was a problem that was centered in my abdominal area, and it was something that would transpire usually once a month for a lady. Mine decided to stay and visit for approximately a year. So it lasted for about a year. And it wouldn't stop. And I would call up gynecology offices and just beg them, please help me with this. I don't know how to make it stop. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do. Help. And they would say, well, we'd love to help you. What form of insurance do you have? What's your name? And the minute they found out I had no health insurance, most of them were quite unfriendly, and the conversation would cease to be. And it really sucked, honestly. When you're reaching out for help, you need help and there's a problem, but nobody seems inclined to help you. So, yeah. And I remember during that year, I still had this problem, and so I stopped going out. That was one thing I stopped doing, just due to the fact that I didn't want to have any mishaps, and it seemed that I was primed to have a mishap with that situation at the time, and I didn't really want to do that. So, yeah, I became more of a hermit, and after about a year, it slowly just kind of stopped, and of which I was very thankful. But God, I don't recommend, being in America without health insurance. If you decide to go visit, fine, go visit. It's a beautiful place. There's lots of gorgeous places to go in America, and it is fun. But be smart and get the travel health insurance. Please, I beg you, make sure you get that done, because you will have an advantage, you will have peace of mind, and if anything were to happen, which I hope it does not, you would have, the power at your fingertips to see the doctors you need to see without having to see the exorbitant health bill and go, oh my God, like, what is this, right? So yeah, and, yeah. Anyway, towards the end, I was starting to get anemic. I know I was getting anemic. I've had it before, so, it was only a matter of time, and sure enough, I was getting anemic, and I was feeling really, really bad. But, yeah, eventually it just stopped on its own. And, I mean, do you know how uncomfortable that was for a whole year of this? And, you call the doctors, and they show no compassion whatsoever. None. It's all like financial. Literally, it's money and money and money. So that was the experience I had over there. And then you have the experience here. The ones I've had here have been, actually, pretty standard. I go in, I have a nurse escort, and I have a doctor, and they, examine me and make sure everything is in working order. And then, they examine everything, including, the sample, and, next thing you know, I'm usually out the door, and everything is fine. But, it can be, it's still invasive, obviously, and I'm just so grateful to have nurses that will, be patient and not be so judgmental. I'm not saying there are not judgmental nurses in the NHS, because there are, but that goes with any particular portion of the population on this planet. At any given time, you will always have someone who just has to be grumpy. They just have to be grumpy. It's the way it is. I don't know why they do that, but they do. People are just silly. Anyway, it's getting a little long here, and I'm really happy that I was able to share this with you. In general, I find the NHS is just higher quality care. It's just definitely more attentive to details, and it's not, sweeping it under the rug because you're too lazy to, look back on a person's file and find out what could be wrong with them. They actually do their research, do their work, and find out, and that can make a huge difference. So, very, very grateful to the NHS. All right, so I am going to wish you guys a good evening, and I know that Sophia is going to as well, and she's just so darn cute. I mean, come on, look at that. Look at my baby. She's so cute. All right, so we say good night, and I will talk to you again as soon as possible. All right, kisses. Mwah.